Hi everybody, welcome back to 2K Mads. It's Matt Palmer.
And it's Matt Steele.
It's gonna be a short one. This is, just something to say. We're very much Black Lives Matter people, obviously, because I am here and my life fucking matters, and the fact that this is up for debate and people don't understand what that means still in 2020 is beyond me, but it's fine. If you are unfamiliar, which I assume you'd have to be living under a rock to be unfamiliar, but there are going to be links in the description section of this video, so you can read up on what happened to several black people who have died at the hands of police very recently. George Floyd, of course, Breonna Taylor, and Tony McDade as well, who is a trans man who is not getting as much publicity, who was recently killed by police as well. It is so horrifying, the fact that this is happening, and it happens so often, and there's a million things that we could say about this. That you see that these videos that are being shared around on Twitter and on social media and on Instagram and things, and you see things like that old 75-year-old man going up to those policemen and getting knocked down and bleeding from his skull and getting ignored completely by all the police around him. And then, as horrifying as that is, if that's what it takes for people to realize, oh, the problem is the fucking police, maybe we should do something about it. It's horrible that it takes this much to get there.
As years have gone on, more and more people have gained social media, gained access to social media, so more and more people are seeing it. So of course, this movement in this year feels so especially large. Last weekend was very, very hard, but this weekend, I'm definitely seeing more positives coming from this, and seeing that there is hope for some real change that can happen.
I would love that. I'm hopeful, but I just feel like even if you feel like only have so many followers, I don't have that many people that I can influence, you don't know that. And it's not tacky to post your receipts of this is how much I've donated to this place, match my donation. This is because you're doing a good thing. Obviously, the bailout funds, which we talked about on our podcast, if you haven't listened to, I think a lot of those are overrun with money. There are a lot of specifically queer and trans support groups for black people that are needing funding as well. You should find those. We'll find all the links, put everything we have in the description box, because there's still so much work to do. If you don't feel comfortable being out in the protests on the front lines, and that's fine. Everyone has to do their part. But if your part is only educating those around you, who, when people that look like me are not in their presence, they say racist shit. I've seen some of those TikTok kids arguing with their racist parents and posting it on TikTok, and it's like having those uncomfortable conversations, even if 90% of the time you're talking to a brick wall. That 10%, if you get some people, or even the young people around them, that can hear like, oh, you are ignorant and you are wrong and this is why, that would do everyone a favor. It's not to say that educating those people is going to make everything better, but at least it'll start. It'll be, because the thing is, the problem is so large that it needs a huge systematic change. And so when the young people, that are more aware and more, plugged in than we were even at that age, become the adults and the people in power, maybe things will be less horrible. This feels like it could be a turning point. I'd like to think that possibly when this is not all over the news, when this isn't the trending topic, this is still a fight that everyone is willing to fight in their daily lives. And
you see it with people all around the world. The fact that you see videos of protests happening all around the world is very encouraging, and it makes you kind of feel like, oh, this isn't just our problem, this is everyone's problem, this is a problem everywhere. We encourage you to keep on educating yourselves, keep on listening to each other, telling your stories, because the things that really will create change are people hearing the stories. That's what gets people to listen. That's what gets people hooked in and connected, and to realize, oh, something needs to be done, now what can we do about it?
And that's the thing, even though every country was not built on slavery and racism like ours was, anti-blackness is a global feeling for white people, but also in other minority groups. So even if you're a person of color, if you feel like there's an anti-black sentiment going on in your friend group, if you're a Latino person that likes to use the N-word, maybe that's where you start. You figure out, oh, this isn't something I should be doing, and this is the repercussion. And also, just lastly, I know this is kind of a free-wielding video, but I have a lot of feelings. If you're a person who is so concerned with rioting and looting and oh, they've ruined this Target, how can this be done? You've got to be better. Everyone stop being so obsessed with the life that you've lived in, the property that gives you warmth, and be like, oh, someone's life was taken, because that's far more fucking important. And also, if you're just an anarchist that's going to jump on this opportunity opportunity to break shit, then go fuck yourself as well, because like that's not what this is about.
These protests have been going on for, you know, over a week and a half now, and I find that now, this weekend, they are way more peaceful. You're seeing way more peaceful protests than before, so it's kind of like, well, what has changed?
I mean, maybe this isn't everyone's feeling, but my feeling is that the police have seen how public their videos of them being brutal in the street is, because there were so many protests you would see. Is like, this began as a peaceful protest until the police got involved, and they, you know, decided tear gas was the best way to deal with peaceful protesters with signs and like knocking them and hitting them with batons. I mean, now there are no more curfews, so I mean, maybe there are in some places, but most of them, they're gone. I know
New York was the last one. I think it lifted.
Oh, good.
Today.
And it lifted today. Great. At some point, this is going to die down. There won't be protests anymore, but it is still important to focus on anti-racism. It is a term that is up. You're going to see a lot, and it's good. It makes sense, because it's like, to say, oh, I'm not a racist, I've done my part, is not enough. If you are a white person who is reaching out to their black friend and asking what they can do, stop. That black friend is annoyed. Even, oh, you know what? Several well-meaning white people have reached out to me, and I do not fault them. But I mostly don't fault them if I have seen that they have done things on their own. Use your money, use your voice.
Use your platform to amplify voices.
Yes.
To amplify the voices of the people who are hurting.
Yes. I don't know about, you know, if this leads to, you know, we saw that Minneapolis, I believe, that is completely disbanding that police force there. I need to read up a bit more about that. So maybe this is the solution. I don't know all the answers, but I know that what's been done so far is not working, and so let's all investigate as to how to fix this police state that we're currently living in.
We'll see what happens in Minneapolis. We'll see what happens around the country. We'll see what happens around the world.
Yes.
Obviously, it had to happen. I am feeling, I don't want to say like encouraged, but I have faith that now more and more people are realizing the importance of sharing these uncomfortable videos and sharing this evidence so people can really see what is out there, because everyone is just living in their own little bubble, and everyone needs to learn. And I feel like they are really learning now, and as they will continue to learn years down the line. And I was supposed to say, and especially because this is an election year, people realize like, oh, things like voting the right people in is important. We have to stay aware.
And are you trying to say that our president's not on the right side of history on this?
You know,
Oh my fucking God. Take what you want from this, but make sure if you have the means, if you have the ability, click on one of the links above or below, wherever you're watching this. Any sort of way that you can donate to Black Lives Matter and other organizations, any sort of GoFundMe's for Breonna, for George Floyd, for Tony McDade, in a way to, you know, maybe lessen the blow for their friends and family, because they are probably suffering while this huge and giant movement has come up in their honor. Those people are still suffering with the loss of a loved one, an unnecessary loss. So we want the best for those people. We want the best for every black person, and we want the best for you guys watching. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back with more 2Gay Maths.
thanks guys. Bye.